Great. Well, it is 11 o'clock. Unless there are a lot of questions, I think that this will be fairly informative, not quite as long as Matthew and his underground storage tanks, but I thought that was pretty interesting as well. Lots of great information. So this morning we are going to talk about the Tidewater Initiative. The Tidewater Initiative is an initiative that was introduced by the Veterans Administration when the appraisers were really busy. And this was not in 21 and 20 and even the beginning of 22. This was actually all the way back in the mid 2000s. So what happened um, was that appraisers were having a hard time coming up to value, so they would send in an appraisal which was low, and everybody would get mad and say, "But we had these other comps." And so so then we had to go through the process of doing a reconsideration of value, which we'll touch on a little bit later in this session. But the reconsideration of value takes quite a bit of time. So what they did was they came up with, and it was designed specifically in this area, in the Tidewater area. And what we do is we find that an appraiser uses this in two situations. One, he's just run out of time. He or she have just run out of time. They are given 10 business days or 14 days to actually complete an appraisal report from the time it is ordered. And a lot of appraisers they got too busy, and we would have people say, "Oh, I'm calling the Tidewater," and people are like, "You're kidding, this is a tract home in a subdivision that's got 30 comps." So I think it's pretty interesting that that VA actually allows them to do that, but it does give them probably another 3 to 4 days to get the appraisal report completed. So that's one reason. The second reason is that the appraiser cannot find comps or comparable sold properties. So what we do is, or what happens is, the appraiser contacts the requester, and typically the lender is the requester. The new forms that VA has, the automated forms, believe it or not, do not have a place for a point of contact. So when we order an appraisal from the VA, we actually have to put the point of contact down in a comments box. So one of the things to think about is, if you're using a local lender such as Newtown or Advance Financial, we are right here, and we are going to get this notification from the appraiser if the appraiser just goes back to the requester and does not in fact contact you as the agent, whether it be the listing agent or the selling agent. Obviously, it would make more sense for them to contact the listing agent, because it's the listing agent that arrived at the price, and probably has the most access to the most comparable comps. So what we do is we receive this notification from the appraiser that they're having a hard time finding comps, and they give us 48 hours to put comps together. Now, what we do is, or what you would do is, you will, and hopefully you can see my grid here, you're going to put the comps that you have together on this grid. And I'm sure you all are all familiar with the appraisals, and that basically, when this little part right here that says adjustments, it's going to be a positive adjustment if our property has, say, for example, our property has 4 bedrooms instead of the subject only having 3 bedrooms, then that would make our property actually, or this property, less attractive. And if our property had 4 bedrooms and this comp had, I don't know that that's necessarily such a good one to compare. But if you said the age of our subject property was 10 years and the age of this comparable was 20 years, it may be that the adjustment is a positive adjustment because the subject property is better than the comparable property. So this little grid right here, which we have available to you if you need one, is something that we can help you complete so that you can give that back to the appraiser. All right, let's move that one out of the way. Okay, the the comparables, it is very important that we know which comparables the appraiser has used to start off with. We obviously don't want to give him the same comparables back. So we're going to be looking at the appraisal and see what comparables they have used so that when we get new comparables, we can tell whether or not they are good comparables. If the appraiser still provides a low appraisal, the next step would be to do a reconsideration of value. And basically what we do with the reconsideration of values, we would take those comparable properties and we would send that to the Veterans Administration and ask them to review for for an increase in the value obtained by the appraiser. So that's pretty much the Tidewater initiative in a nutshell. As I mentioned, recently we have seen, in fact, last week we had 2 Tidewater initiatives. So I think with the change in the market and the values perhaps going down just a little bit, we are in fact seeing some low appraisals. So does anybody have any questions, any examples, anything that they would like to bring up about the Tidewater initiative? Well, great. Well, I guess this was just your mortgage few minutes, but the Tidewater initiative, again, it's something that's was created for our area, but it is used nationwide by the Veterans Administration. The appraiser has 10 business days or 14 days to complete an appraisal report from the time it is ordered. And typically we get the Tidewater initiative if the appraiser has run out of time, or 2, he or she cannot find comparable properties to use on the appraisal. So, any questions? Well, great. Oh, yeah, Carl, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. It's great to see you.
You too.
Hey, at any point, I mean, if it seems the appraiser is really struggling, we've submitted our comps, and I mean, is there a time when another appraiser might be called in?
The Veterans Administration, now, if we are doing a conventional appraisal or an FHA appraisal, you're probably aware that we at Town Bank Mortgage do have a panel of appraisers. So these are all people who have been approved by us to be on our panel. So we typically don't have an issue with bad appraisals. And I'll say typically, because there's always that, I'm not going to say never, but we typically do not have issues with those appraisers coming to value. But with the VA, we're obviously dealing with a completely different ball game. And the VA says that if we are looking for that value to be increased more than 10%, so if the appraiser comes in ridiculously low, more than 10% below the sales price, then we would send it, and the VA will actually send out one of their staff appraisers to review the property.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I think there may be, is there another question on here too? Okay, and yeah, Tanya, I'll make sure that that Haley, I'll send the grid to Haley and make sure that she is able to share that with you so you guys all have that grid available to use. The good thing about it is it does the math. So that's always seems to be the struggle. Any other questions from anybody? Yvonne? Nope. Okay. Well, super. You guys, you get another 52 minutes back into your day, but please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Tim Good if you have any questions. Either one of us or the loan officers in your offices will be more than happy to answer any questions. So thank you so much. Go out and enjoy this beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you.